Welcome to Coaches Roundtable. I'm Ed Codi, and welcome our guest. For over half a century, the voice of Pitt football and basketball. Last 28 years of play-by-play announcer for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Welcome the legendary Bill Hillgrove. Bill, I've said it before, I'll say it again. No one before or since has had it better than you.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a good run. And, somebody recently said to me, do you have a long-term plan? And I said, no, frankly, I don't buy green bananas. So if I feel good, I'll keep doing it. And certainly, where can I have more fun? I'm like a golf pro. What do I retire to?
Well, Bill, you're so recognizable. Just put on a Pitt game, basketball or football, and your voice is right there and recognizable throughout the whole area. But let me ask you this question. We get started here. Are you ready for the brawl?
I'm ready for the brawl. My charts are almost done. I have one more West Virginia chart to do. They didn't release their two deep till yesterday, but I have a pretty good idea as to at least the first two players at every position. So almost ready, Ed, almost.
Bill, I understand the preparation. Just doing high school games, broadcasting them, how much preparation I have to go through, and I imagine for you it's twice as much.
Yeah, and, interestingly, and you guys that do the high school beat, you have problems that we don't face. Most of the stuff that we do at the college or pro level, we can get off the internet. At high school, you've got to talk to people. And
Yep.
I remember as a young Cub reporter showing up with my tape recorder for a City League playoff game at South Stadium one year. I said to the referee, any chance of getting a roster? He goes, we're lucky we have a football. So I really feel for you guys having to extract that information.
Bill, let's go back last year. Pitt comes into the season, Narduzzi, 41-34, and some of the Pitt faithful snipping at his heels. What a difference a year makes. He goes 11-3, wins the ACC. The culture has changed. This team is loaded, depth everywhere, including one of the best offensive lines in college football, headed by Butler's Jake Cradle. Now the talk isn't ACC. The talk has turned to maybe college football playoff and the national championship. Premature or realistic, Bill?
Well, I understand the optimism, and I also point to the fact that they've let Narduzzi alone. They've let him grow, let him gradually change that culture. And Ed, frankly, he finally has his defense. This is a Narduzzi defense where they get after people. And so I think Pitt fans are, figuring, well, maybe they can take the next step. All those steps in college football are huge. But what I saw last year and the experience down in both Charlotte and Atlanta as they, made their way to the Peach Bowl, I'm pretty convinced that this program is in really good hands and is in a good place right now.
Bill, doing my research, I rate the Pitt offensive line one of the top 5 in the country. And the defensive line with Baldonado and Cansey, I rate them one of the top defensive lines. Everyone wants to talk about the quarterback situation. Pitt lost a lot with Pickett and Jordan Addison going to USC. But what do you think about Slovis? And then you got Nick Patty also, and there is lots of depth at wide receiver and running back.
Yeah, that wide receiver room is full. The running back room is talented, and the quarterback room is in good shape. I watched Slovis several times in practice and in the spring game. He throws the deep ball really well, doesn't underthrow it, doesn't throw it over the wrong shoulder. And, because of his experience, I think, he gets the nod. But Nick Patty, let's face it, let's go back to the bowl game in Atlanta. I believe if Patty stays healthy, they beat Michigan State. But it didn't happen. But Patty, I think, gives you an element of running the football that perhaps Slovis does not and does not want to do. So, it's all good. And then you mentioned up front both ways. Narduzzi pointed that to the media yesterday at his gathering. He said, hey, it begins up front. You can talk all you want about skill positions, depth in all those rooms. What happens up front dictates the flow of the football game.
Bill, what are we going to see with the new offensive coordinator and Frank Cignetti?
Going to run the ball more. I think he'll be dedicated to that, and he's blessed with a room full of 5 really good runners. And the guy who was the most improved player got the Ed Conway Award from spring ball, Daniel Carter. Not many people mention him, but he's a fullback type, but he's got good enough speed to be the tailback in short yardage situations. He can be explosive. So, Izzy gives you that front end speed, that top end speed. I think that's why he's listed as number one. But no matter who they go to, Vincent Davis, Rodney Hammond Jr., they have some gifted running backs.
And they seem to be very high on a transfer, Sebo Flemister from Notre Dame. I heard the running backs coach say he's as tough as anyone they have running inside.
Yep. He pushed for a starting job. And, and again, you can't replace experience. So, that position is pretty solid.
Bill, let's talk about the Mountaineers. They have a quarterback who comes from Southern Cal also, J.T. Daniels from Georgia, where he was a starter, was replaced. Their offensive coordinator was Slovis's offensive coordinator at USC. This is like the battle for the West Coast going on, too, here in this game. Very interesting matchup.
Yeah, that's an old home week backstory to the backyard brawl, and it brings an intriguing one as well. Daniels can make all the throws. He is really accurate, and that is of concern to Narduzzi and his defense. Both coordinators talked yesterday. Frank Signetti, of course, has been on both sides of this rivalry, and he just treasures the moment. And Randy Bates talked about the concern they have. West Virginia, especially with Daniels, can throw the deep ball. So I think it's going to be a great game.
Bill, Pitt leads the all-time series, but the Mountaineers have won 19 of the last 28, the last 3, even though they haven't played for a long time. Are the Mountaineers getting their propers coming into this game? I'm not hearing much said about them.
Well, I think, they have speed, and that's pretty obvious. What I've always said about rivalry games, you can throw the rankings, you can throw records out the window. This is a big game for the Mountaineer kids. This is a big game for the Pitt kids. And as Shady McCoy said at that kickoff luncheon last Friday, he was talking to the seniors. He said, I hope you know what you're in for. And to that point, for Narduzzi to reach out to Dave Wanstead to be the honorary captain, Wanstead says about the backyard brawl, buckle your chin strap. And so that's why I think it's going to be a great game.
Bill, it's been 40 years since Pitt has finished in the top 10. It's been 40 years since they've had back-to-back 10-win seasons. How important to win these first 2 games? Seems to me they could run the table looking at the schedule with the big game coming at the end of the season at Miami.
Yeah, you can only win them one at a time. And I know the experts say they'll only be underdogs twice, probably both road games, Miami and North Carolina. But that's you still have to win week by week, and that's the challenge, especially for college kids. I think the pro people, they've been there and done it, and so as a result, they don't get fired up and they don't get high and emotionally. They just kind of take it as a job. Whereas the college game is much more emotional. And Narduzzi pointed to that yesterday, and so did Randy Bates. They like the emotion, but you can't be emotional. You got to be revved up, but you can't do anything that causes post-whistle flags. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I understand the standing room only seats went in 3 minutes. So, there's a great demand for tickets, and people want to see this game, and fans want it, players want it. It should be played every year.
Yeah, expecting 70,000. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I'm excited for it. College game day going to be there. Bill, look forward to the game. Look forward to seeing you there. Always great to have you on. I wish we had more time to talk about the Steelers. We may have to do that later on in the season, but thanks for joining us, and have a great year.
Ed, you're more than welcome, and it's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Bill. I'll be right back. I'll be right back with Al and George. I'm back, joined to my right by the Swami, George Abraham, to my left, the Tiger, Albert Campman. Let's go to Spotlight. High school football, week 0. It's here. High school football, college football. No place better to be than Western Pennsylvania this time of the year.
Yeah.
Top rushers, Deshaun Cox of Butler, 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. Evan Wright of Mars, 145 yards. Brock Borgo of Hampton, 114. Wyatt Carver, Seneca Valley, 109. Top passers, Joey Mayer of Hampton, 227 yards, 4 touchdown passes. Max Schnorr of Butler, 202 yards, 2 TDs, 1 run, 1 pass. Chris Smiley, Elwood City, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns. Eric Kasparovich of Mars, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pass, 1 run. By the way, Mars won their opener under new coach Eric Kasparovich, 34-26 over Montour. The coaches' roundtable. Al and I will be there Friday night to bring you their game with Newcastle. Logan Kushner of North Allegheny, 167 yards, 3 touchdowns. Graham Hancock, Seneca Valley, 130 yards, 2 TDs, 1 run, 1 pass. Eric Boer of Karn City, 125 yards. And Brody Dittman of Union AC Valley, 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. Our top receivers, Kieran Boyd of North Allegheny, 7 for 105 yards. Luke Lawson of Seneca Valley, 7 for 74 in the TV. Brighton Mariacker, Elwood City, 6 for 60 and a TD. Deshaun Cox of Butler, 5 for 99. He had a total of 256 yards in Butler's win over Shaler. Aiden Alicio of Mars, 5 for 54. And the receiver of the week, Benny Hasselrig of Hampton, 4 for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns. Micah Rupp of Karn City, 4 for 72. Big play of the night, Slippery Rock High School's John Sabo returned a school record kickoff, 98 yards for a touchdown, and also caught a touchdown pass. We're going to see the Rockets when they play host to Wilmington October 14th.
Yeah, that's a nice win for them at McLean. That's a good win.
Hey, the Butler-Shaler game, guys, there were 62 points. Butler had 466 total yards. Shaler had 432 yards. Deshaun Cox had 256 total yards for Butler. And Shaler running back, Luke Signetti, he rushed for 246 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Not a lot of defense in that one.
I watched it. It was on TV.
I'll give them credit. Give
Yeah.
the Butler credit, though. They
Held
these
on.
are games they wouldn't won in the past, and they
Good
yeah,
win.
and they held this.
Be an
They held
interesting
on.
game. They'll be at Meadville this week, and our sister station is going to broadcast. George, I was checking. Meadville practically has the whole team.
2 guys
back
I
from
think
last
they
year.
lost.
Wow,
Yeah.
they're going to be good.
I would think.
Hey, recruiting news. Butler senior pitcher Madden Clement commits to Virginia Tech. The left-handed pitcher has posted an 11-1 record over the past 2 seasons, his only loss coming to North Allegheny. Last year, he also added 28 RBI for the Tornado, one of the top RBI guys in the WPIAL. And in college soccer, Mars grad Gracie Dunaway, a sophomore at Purdue, she netted 2 goals in the Boilermakers' 3-2 win over number 15 ranked, the USC Trojans. Those Mars soccer girls, they're all over the country
They're
playing.
big time there.
Our stories of the week, college football, we're ready to go. The backyard brawl between West Virginia and Pitt. Pitt favored by what, is it 6.5 or 7?
7.
They lead the all-time series 61-40-3, but here's what I found. West Virginia's won 19 of the last 28. I know it's been a while. Have also won the last 3. Are the Mountaineers getting their propers coming into this game?
Well, Pitt is ranked so highly that the line
Yeah.
is right where it should be.
Yeah.
And that's how good Pitt is. I think West Virginia's underrated. I do believe that Daniels coming as a quarterback is a big upgrade. That'll be the key. Two USC quarterbacks starting.
Yes,
at
I
Pitt and West
talked
Virginia.
about that with Bill Hillgrove.
Yes.
A record crowd expected,
Oh, yeah.
70,000. I was at the Pitt luncheon. LaShawn McCoy was the main speaker, and he said going down that upset win in 2008, the 13-9 win, West Virginia was undefeated. He said their bus was getting hit with batteries, beer cans. He said we got off the bus. He said, and there were these little 5-year-old kids there. He said, nice, sweet little kids hollering at us, eat blank Pitt. He said, and Grandma was there patting him on the shoulder. Good boy. That's how intense the rivalry gets.
No, you understand that game changed history.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the West Virginia coach, if he's playing for the national title, he's not leaving.
He's talking to Michigan the whole time.
Absolutely.
Now, when you say change things around, let's look at last year. Narduzzi comes in the season 41-34, and there were some of the Pitt faithful snipping at his heels. He goes 11-3, wins the ACC championship. The culture's changed, even though they lost Pickett and Jordan Addison. They have depth, great offensive line, one of the best in the country, headed by Butler's Jake Cradle, headed in his 4th year as a starter. Defensive All-Americans in Baldonado and on the defensive line and Cansey. This team is loaded everywhere. 4 outstanding running backs. Jared Wayne's a pretty good receiver. So now I'm hearing the talk has changed. You guys tell me what you think about it. Is it realistic or is it premature? They're not talking ACC. They're talking about college football playoffs.
I don't have them that high. I really don't.
Well, they're almost one and the same, though. ACC usually gets one, especially if it's Clemson. For
right,
sure.
right.
But no, I agree with Al. There are some trip games there. This one's one, Tennessee 2,
Tennessee.
at Louisville, at Miami.
Miami last year. But if this is my thinking. You guys tell me your perspective. If they win these first 2, I could see them going undefeated till they hit Miami, possibly.
Yeah, I
There's
see
a
the
good
same
chance.
thing. No, I see the same thing.
Oh, I see it. I see it.
Yeah, it's been 40 years since they finished in the top 10. It's been 40 years since they had back-to-back 10-win seasons. So, to me, anything less than a 10-win season, to me, would be a disappointment.
Well, I just struggle losing a guy like Pickett. I mean, he's one of the best quarterbacks that have come through the last 5 years of college football.
Yeah.
So we're going to see how much he meant to the team, breaking containment, making plays with his legs and his arm. Because these other teams are good too. Don't think the ACC doesn't have other good teams.
And now
too.
the difference is, Pitt's the hunted.
And the tertiary thing, like when he first came, okay, stay in a 5th year, okay. Now there are guys coming because of how well they did.
Yes, they have I was just looking at they have a ton of kids from Florida.
Oh, well.
So many kids.
That's how you win.
They're trying to win it.
recruited.
That's how you win.
And so you look at this, you have the bragging rights of Southern California now with J.T. Daniels at West Virginia, Slovis for Pitt, and Slovis's former offensive coordinator is now West Virginia's offensive coordinator. There's all kinds of intrigue going into this game.
You know what else, too? No one ever says this. Patty's a great backup.
He can run.
I love him.
He's a much better runner.
You know what, Al? If they were to miss
I love him.
Slovis for a game, he could come in and
he could win a
pull
game
it
for sure.
Bill Hillgrove feels if he wouldn't have been injured last year, Pitt could have beaten Michigan
Yeah, I
State.
said the
in
same
that bowl
thing.
game.
Oh,
I said the same thing.
He's 6'5", 220, 225.
Is
It's interesting he stayed.
He's a big kid.
I didn't think he'd stay.
Yeah.
Once they announced the
Because
quarterback,
Slovis thing was kind of out there,
I
wasn't
thought
it?
he'd go.
You know that?
I thought he'd go.
Pitt, I know they lost Addison, but they got Bartholomew.
Oh, they go
preseason All-America tight end. He's a monster. Wayne, the wide receiver, plus the transfer from Akron. They're loaded at the wide receiver position. My only question is, will this secondary be good enough to carry him against the top passers?
Well,
in the
they're going to at
conference?
least get some pressure on the quarterback, which helps them.
Baldonado, Alexander.
Yeah,
they have some, and Dennis at middle linebacker. West Virginia now, their entire offensive line returns. Their top 3 running backs, they have some real good receivers. Their question mark is they have practically a whole new secondary.
Yeah, their question mark was quarterback. They didn't have a quarterback. Now they have one. So we're going to see that makes a big difference. And the game is such a rivalry.
Oh.
It's just
That 13-9 thing.
It's a big-time rivalry.
Hey, Al, one more thing, too. When you look at those, like you get West Virginia coming in there, it's a huge game. They put the thing over the top as far as the crowd
Fans,
for the
yes.
sellout. And they're going to be, but this coach, I'm going to tell you about this coach. I told Al 2 years ago, he got him ready for that Army option that nobody stops. And he did a great
job.
Yeah, Brown was a good coach. No, there's 2 good coaches in this game, so it's not coming down to coaches. It's going to come down to players.
I've said it before, I say it again. If you want to be in a conversation as a football power, you need to have 5 straight outstanding seasons and at least 3 straight finishes in the top 10, top 15. Other than that, you're not getting in the conversation.
Well, we were last year just hoping Pitt could win 6 games. So we're a long way off from that.
Well, how the culture's changed. He came into last season with 2 7-loss seasons and 3 8-5 season and a 6-loss season.
We had him. We liked him last year.
Yeah.
We did. We didn't know Pickett was. We knew he was good. He was even better than we thought.
Hey, let's look at our college football preseason. You know, just like Claude Rains said in Casablanca, round up the usual suspects. Here the usual.
Yeah.
It's Alabama at the top with
No.
Bryce Young, and they say the best defensive lineman, Will Anderson, in college football. But I think Ohio State just a little bit behind him. 45 points a game average last year, 560 yards. C.J. Stroud, you guys know how good he is. Running back Henderson and the wide receiver, they're just loaded. They're 17-point favorites over Notre Dame.
That's all you need to know. Notre Dame's really good. Here's the thing about Ohio State. Fleming Kit was the -- 1 receiver in the country 2 years ago. He's yet to break in full time.
That's how good they are.
Knowles will be the key to that whole. It's
Defense.
very seldom do you see a coach be the important part. They got Oklahoma State to give them a bunch of money to come in, defensive coordinator.
Yes.
Always brings pressure. Ohio State never has before. We're going to see how that affects them.
The only way Notre Dame can stay with them with their entire offensive line returning is to be able to have to run the ball against Ohio State. Where
You can do that, though.
Where the Buckeyes were
They've
weak
done that.
last
That's
year.
what I said. You can do that.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Yes.
If they can't, they're
Now,
in
you
trouble.
know Michigan did have a third down in the second half.
Yeah.
You can run the ball against Ohio State.
Hey, yeah, that's. I didn't know when it happened. That is a telling
Michigan just
statistic.
kicked their butt. That's all.
Yeah, they beat 'em up.
Next is Georgia. Can they do it again with Stetson Bennett? They lost a lot on defense. Clemson, 9 starters back, guys, on defense. Top 4 running backs and wide receivers, but the quarterback is a question
I
mark.
don't have Clemson doing it this year
Because of the quarterback.
Because of their offense.
I agree.
He's not shown anything. He had that one game in Notre Dame as a freshman.
That was it.
That was it.
Michigan, 8 starters return on
Really like
offense.
their team. I really like their
Very easy first 4 games, and a controversy at quarterback. I think Harbaugh,
He's alternating.
he wants to let them make the decision. He doesn't want to make
He's
it.
alternating the first 2 games.
Notre Dame at 6.
But I want to go back to that.
Yeah.
I like that better than playing one series.
Yeah.
Like you know, it's,
Give the game out.
yes,
Game.
You know, okay, well, I'm
Yes.
going to give you 2 series in the game.
And when
Let's
you do
give
that-
him a full game.
Yeah.
Give him a full game. Watch practice because they are that equal, by the way.
And
they're both good.
And Harbaugh's convoluted about it. He doesn't know who to
And
name.
he's got a lot of guys around him, right?
And they're both
Yes.
very good.
They got.
Oh, geez, they
They
got
got
a good
talent.
team. They got
Yeah.
talent.
I think they're better than people think.
I really like
Now
Michigan State.
Notre Dame new coach Marcus Freeman going back to his alma mater Ohio State. They have an offensive line returning, new quarterback in Buchner, a defensive end Foskey, and one of the best tight ends in the country in Mayer.
Yeah, Mayer's tremendous.
Yeah.
Mayer's a pro. Yeah, Mayer's a
Mayer's
pro.
one of those guys
But
that
also
looks
not
different.
offensive line play.
Yeah.
You know that for Notre Dame. If the offensive line dominates, they're in the game. If not, Ohio State beats them easily.
And oops, there's Utah. There's a newcomer. Don't
fun, too.
We
this
like them.
team is tough.
We love 'em.
They loaded at quarterback, running back, and they play great defense.
Georgia and I have them in the final in the playoffs. We think that's how good Utah is.
Opening game, we're going to find out.
Willingham's good. You go to Florida though. You're right, George. You go to Florida.
Yeah.
That's a tough game.
And I have Oregon next. They have 14 starters
They go to
returning.
Georgia.
And
2
here's
Pac-12 teams. How
Here's
about
a
that?
team no one's talking about. I have North Carolina State at number 9.
My
9
top
starters back on defense.
You know,
Quarterback Devin Leary.
Let me tell you, that's my number 1 pick for wins. But here, you know, these other teams are picking cherries the first couple games. They have East Carolina and Texas Tech. They do not go and just grab those directional schools.
And I have Baylor at number 10,
Yeah.
13 starters
Good
return.
defense.
I have Pitt at number 15. The AP has them at number 17.
Pretty similar.
Yeah.
Pretty similar. I think that's where I'd have them too. Somewhere between 13
Around
and
12,
17.
15.
Yeah.
Now,
They're good, Ed.
Penn State's not ranked.
Well, that's,
Let me say this: they're 11-11 last 2 years. Franklin makes $7.5 million a year. Guys, he's 7-17 versus Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State. He's 2-13, top 10. He's 11-17, top 25. Does his seat get a little hot?
Oh, it is hot.
no, it makes too much money.
Never has there been a bigger game for Penn State in a long time.
Thursday.
At
You
Purdue.
understand? Yeah. If they beat Purdue,
Yeah.
then I know they're good,
Yeah.
and I know Penn State's off and flying because Clifford's a good quarterback.
See,
Yes.
But if they lose,
Yes.
then all the confidence goes
hey,
down.
Ed,
Big game for
they
Penn
were
State.
5-0 last year when they went
And
to
then
Iowa.
went down the tubes.
Well, he got hurt.
Yes.
Who wins without their quarterback?
Clifford's back for what, his 10th year?
7th year. He had one of those letters that has so many on, like those. They just
Yeah.
put those little.
Hey, let's not forget the Rock, Slippery Rock and IUP
Oh.
picked for first preseason the PSAC West. Slippery Rock opens at home with Wayne State, but guys, both games against IUP and Cal are on the road.
IUP, I just got done reading about loaded.
Transfer
Jeez,
quarterback.
They're loaded, and Slippero's got to play their very, very best to beat them.
California has 9 back on defense.
Yeah.
They're
See, now
loaded.
next year they have them both at home.
They lost some
Yeah.
players. Cal lost some players.
Oh.
Interesting. Usually they bring in players.
You know,
They lost
Shepard's
some
in
players.
the other half, and they have the Division II Heisman guy back, the quarterback.
Hey, the weekend starts off great games at West Virginia at Pitt, and of course, as you mentioned, Penn State at Purdue. And then September 3rd, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oregon and Georgia, Utah and Florida, and then LSU at Florida State on the 4th. See what happens there with Brian Kelly.
That's Sunday night, isn't it?
starting. Yeah, I believe it
He
is.
won't name
Yeah.
a quarterback. He said
He won't.
it's advantageous for him and not for you to know who's playing. Like they don't.
In other words, he doesn't know either.
and in other words, he doesn't have one.
right.
Yeah, September 10th, Tennessee at Pitt. October 8th, Texas A&M at Alabama.
That's why everybody has circle.
Yeah.
Everybody has that one circle.
And Oklahoma at Texas. And then November 5th, Clemson at Notre Dame, Alabama at LSU, Florida State at Miami. And November 26th, how about this lineup? Notre Dame at USC, Auburn at Alabama, Michigan at Ohio State.
I love Michigan, Ohio State. That's a game.
It has to be noon, though. It has to be
Yeah,
noon.
it has to
noon
be.
on a
Yeah,
Saturday.
when they change that, it's wrong.
It has
yes.
to be noon.
And let's not forget Army Navy, December 10th. And
Best rivalry in sports.
I'm going to finish by saying this: our Power 5 offensive line, Jake Cradle Butler at Pitt, 6'3", 305. Josh Lugg, North Allegheny at Notre Dame, 6'6", 307. Michael Carmody, Mars, Notre Dame, 6'5", 300. Andrew Christophe, Pine Richland, Notre Dame, 6'5", 298. Michael Cady, Pine Richland, Indiana, 6'4", 305. Josh Kaltenberger, Seneca Valley, Purdue, 6'5", 310. And you have a quarterback, Phil Jakovic at BC. You got a chance to win some games
We
with
saw
these guys?
we saw a lot of those kids. We
Yeah.
saw a lot of those kids, and they were
Absolutely.
big men. They still are big men.
Hey, that's it for us. Thanks for joining us. A lot to talk about. Steelers and Pirates coming up next week. We'll see you then.
We're proud to announce that in 2022, Armstrong has been named Cablefax Independent Operator of the Year for the second time. We'd like to thank all of our employees for contributing to our success, and a big thank you to our customers for their continued support.